I really think this Australian Open, at least for the women's side, it had it all. It had the amazing stories, it had the upsets, it had just some amazing players who are going really far, and I think let's just talk about it. Welcome, tennis fans, Tennis Traverse, Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy Zhang, and in today's episode, I will be talking about the Australian Open. So I want to start off by saying, I think you guys can hear as well, my voice is a little bit sick because last week was the first time I've ever missed recording an episode for you guys, and I was so sick. I got sick on Wednesday and I didn't get better until basically Tuesday, so I was actually dying. But I got better and I had tennis to keep me company, and I just feel like I watch a lot of tennis. And let me just tell you the story about how I got sick because it kind of relates to tennis. So I think what happened was on Wednesday, it was on Tuesday, Naomi was playing against Karolina Muchova, and that's just the matchup that I really, really enjoyed, and I honestly really like both players, but I think I still like Naomi a little bit more. And my mom was sick already the week before, so she was getting better, and it was really weird. It's a little bit superstitious, but every time she sit a certain way in my chair, Naomi would win. So I was like, don't you dare move in any way on my chair. So she sat on the chair that I normally sit on, and she didn't move, and Naomi won. So I was like, yay, but because she was still a little bit sick and I was really close to her, I immediately started coughing the night when I was about to sleep. And I went to school still on Wednesday, but I knew that I had a fever. I got home and I was gonna go to Paige Bueckers, who's a famous basketball player. I was gonna go to her game. She's also my favorite basketball player. But I couldn't do it. I went home and I threw up. It was just I was having a horrible headache. So in the end, I couldn't go, but still, tennis was really fun, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. But that's just a funny story because I think, it just shows my love for tennis. So I want to start off by talking about the women's side and just talking about some star matchups and just some great matches, giving my thoughts as well on the Australian Open women's final. And then we'll move on to the men's and predict the results for the final. So I want to start off by talking about some, I feel good matches that I'll also leave the highlights for if you guys are interested in. Just some matches that I think are worth mentioning. So, to be honest, I really enjoy the starting of a Grand Slam. I really enjoy the first two rounds because there's just so many matches. So I feel there were just so many matches that I was really excited for all of them. And but as time goes on, you just see matches dwindling and it's kind of sad. But the match I want to mention for the women's for round one will be Coco Gauff versus Sofia Kenin. If you really look at the score, 6-3 by Coco Gauff, it isn't a super amazing and a really close scoreline. But the reason I want to mention this match is because I feel a lot of people going into this Australian Open expected either Coco Gauff or Aryna Sabalenka to win the title, because for Coco Gauff, I feel she's in her top form, and for Aryna Sabalenka, it's Australia and she always do super well here. So a lot of people expected both of those players to go really far, and I think her match with Sofia Kenin really proved and showed how much progress she made, because the last time they played against each other was at Wimbledon last year, first round as well, and Coco lost that match. So I feel this was just a match where I was you could really tell the improvement for Coco Gauff. So I'll leave a link for you guys if you guys want to check that out. And some other matches I want to mention is Naomi Osaka beating Caroline Garcia. So this, I feel like, was a really great match because it was a completely flipped result of what happened last year where Naomi lost in 2 straight sets. I think just like these matches, especially it's sort of like a similar trajectory to last year, really shows how far she went, like she gone since last year, because I just feel like she's able, especially in this season, to clutch like 3-set games, because last year she really didn't win that many 3-set games at all. I think she won none of them, but now she's able to clutch up these important points, and I think that's really impressive. And now I want to talk about the second round matches. So maybe we should start off with Naomi Osaka as well. Naomi Osaka beat Karolina Muchova. That was the match where I think I got sickened, but it was just so, like, Karolina Muchova played great, but Naomi was just striking the ball so beautifully and just hitting all the lines. I was really worried actually, because she was actually hitting it like directly on the line, and it was such a fine margin that, I mean, against a player like Karolina Muchova, you really do have to hit it so accurately, like literally on the line, to like win a point because of how well a mover Karolina Muchova is. So Naomi was playing incredible in this match. I'll leave a link for you guys as well. That was my favorite round 2 match. And there's also the match with Mirra Andreeva and Miyuko Uchijima, and I think just both of those players got a little bit tight, but in the end, Andreeva came out on top with the deciding tiebreak score of 10-8, and she was down that entire tiebreak. I don't know. I feel like that was a match where I don't think that Andreeva performed really well this entire Australian Open, but she still made it really far, and I think she really has the ability to deal with her not being in her top form and still playing great tennis to at least get through to the second week. And the match of round 2 that I also want to talk about is Jung Tae-won losing to Laura Siegmund. So this was a great moment for Siegmund. Like, after she won, she threw her racket up and she like laid on the ground. It was such like a big moment for her, and that's because she really hasn't beaten any top 5 players at a Grand Slam, and I think she really deserved it because she's known for breaking the norms and just like beating difficult players, and I think she did a really great job here. I feel like just her playing style, sometimes you can get a little bit agitated, but that's her game. Her game is to throw her opponent off, and I think that's exactly what she did with Jung Tae-won. In third round, the match I want to talk about is Aryna Sabalenka versus Clara Tauson and Diana Schneider versus Donna Vekic. So I want to start off by talking about Aryna Sabalenka and Clara Tauson. So this match was an incredible match because Tauson really showed that she has the capabilities of striking the ball maybe even as clean as Aryna Sabalenka, and she's really not on like the weaker side when they're just both striking the ball. The only thing I feel like she's a little bit weaker in is movement, but apart from that, I mean, she's playing equally well with Sabalenka, I feel like, in this match. And Vekic versus Schneider, the reason I want to talk about this match is just Schneider's movement is incredible. And I'm saying that like Vekic's movement is incredible. I think she really knows how to move on the court and just fight. Like, her fight, she's never gonna give up, like, no matter what. And you can clearly see that later on where she clearly played through an injury. But she's never giving up, and that's just amazing to see. And then another sort of like a story I want to talk about is Eva Lee's beating Jacqueline Christian in the third round and making it to the second week. Eva's a player I've always looked up to. She's a player that I first saw, I think, before the US Open in Roland Garros, I think, and I just really liked her game, and she's so polite, and she has such a great sportsmanship. So yeah, even though she didn't qualify and she sort of came in as the lucky loser, she said that her arm is loose and she really didn't care about results because, well, she's a lucky loser. So just for a lucky loser to make it really far, this far, is just really magical. And I also want to talk about Emma Raducanu versus Iga Swiatek and then Nilovic versus Jessica Pegula and Ons Jabeur versus Emma Navarro. So let's start off with the Jabeur match. So I feel really great for Ons Jabeur because last season has not been what she was expecting. She had a lot of injuries and it was just overall a really underwhelming season compared to her previous seasons. So I think coming in, she really didn't have great expectations, but making it to the third round and just getting a set off of Emma Navarro is already a great accomplishment. And the match with Iga and Raducanu, I feel like you can really tell just the level difference between them. Like Iga completely took over. A lot of people were hyping this matchup up, but I just knew from the moment Iga played against Emma. I mean, Iga played incredibly well, but just Emma can't handle the pace of Iga's ball. It's just not happening, and Iga just played lights out, and yeah. And Danilovic beating Pegula is another story that is pretty interesting because she made it really far. And now let's move on to the fourth round. For the fourth round, not many incredible matchups happened. I feel like the one with Rybakina and Madison Keys is the best one. Madison Keys had to beat some incredible players to go this far, and she beat I feel like clearly compromised Rybakina. Rybakina didn't play that well. She had, I think, a back injury, which was evident from the round before, and it just wasn't a great sort of, like, it was a good match, but just Rybakina wasn't at her best. So that's that. And now we'll move on to the quarterfinals. So the match between Emma Navarro and Kasatkina was a great one, and Badosa beating Coco Gauff is something I didn't expect. I thought we're gonna get Iga and Coco Gauff for the finals, but I thought Coco was going to make it at least to the semifinals and play with Aryna Sabalenka, like the match of the tournament. But that didn't happen. Paula Badosa ruined the plan. But I mean, I really love the story of Paula, how she was struggling with retirement, but now she's clearly back. She's actually the 11th seed and just beating some incredible players. And for the semifinals, we had Madison Keys versus Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka versus Paula Badosa. So I want to talk about the Badosa match first because that was a less competitive. Well, it was still competitive, but compared to the Keys and Swiatek match, it was less competitive. But they're best friends, so they have a great story with each other. But in the end, Aryna Sabalenka came out on top with a score of 6-4, 6-2. And the match with Keys and Swiatek was an incredible one. I think Madison Keys, she had a lot of just like great moments before in her career where just, especially when she's young, there has been a lot of hype surrounding her and just a lot of people thinking she's going to be like the next great player for the USA, but she's been physically compromised. She had a lot of horrible injuries, but she played so incredibly well, and beating Iga Swiatek, I'm not surprised. I think even though Iga did play really well as well, just overall I feel like Keys played lights out, and it was just such incredible tennis from her. Her ball striking is something that is so rare, and I just love to see it. Okay, now we'll move on to the finals. So I did not watch this final. I only watched the highlights because just Australian Open is the worst timing wise for US fans because it's just 3 a.m. Like it's insane. But in the end, it was a great final, and if you guys have time, definitely watch the highlights. But Madison Keys won, and I think not a lot of people expected this result. I think most people expected Aryna Sabalenka to win, and going in, that's what I thought as well. I think a lot of people really believe that Keys have a chance of challenging Sabalenka, which is what I thought, but Sabalenka is obviously the favorite here, especially in these sort of conditions. But I mean, even Sabalenka said he's just played incredibly well. There's nothing really Aryna could have done. And yeah, it was just a beautiful, beautiful match. Please go watch the highlights. I really have nothing else to say. Yeah, okay. That's all, but just in terms of the women's tournament, there's really a lot that went on, and I'm really happy because I feel like we got so much stuff that, like, a lot of new players. For example, we got Madison Keys winning the title, and I feel like it's really interesting because she just won a title the week before, and I don't know how well she's going to back up her win. I feel like she had a lot of hype really early on in her career that she's maybe used to dealing with a lot of pressure, and I think that's a good thing when you've just won a Grand Slam title. So yeah, really interested to see how she gets on, especially at Indian Wells and Miami, which are the two bigger tournaments that's coming up. So yeah, now I'll take a little break and we'll come back and talk about the men's side. Okay, now we'll talk about the men's side. I feel like this is a little bit underwhelming because in the finals we got the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed facing off. So it isn't like such a surprise like the women's side where we got Madison Keys. But I feel like on this journey we still had some great matches, I'll say, but I feel like they just aren't as exciting as the women's. But an example for a first round match is between Tsitsipas and Michelsen. I think Tsitsipas, like, a lot of people expected this to be an upset match, but for me, I feel like I thought Tsitsipas was gonna get through. I know it's like a bigger match, sort of like there could be a chance for an upset, but I feel like Tsitsipas always find himself in a really tough first round match, and normally he gets through it, but this time he clearly didn't. I don't know what went wrong, but he lost in 4 sets. And yeah, but I mean, Michelsen played great, absolutely incredible. Yeah, yes, okay. And then I want to talk about Gael Monfils beating Giovanni Pericard. Another incredible match. Listen to the scoreline. Gael Monfils won the first set tiebreak 9-7, won the second set 6-3, lost the third set with the tiebreak 6-8, lost the fourth tiebreak score 5-7, and won the deciding set with the score of 6-4. So yeah, absolutely incredible match. I think just Pericard maybe just needs a little bit more experience playing the best of 5. But apart from that, both of these players, I mean, incredible tennis. Yeah, and I think a lot of people didn't expect it to be this competitive. They expected a lot of just holds of serves, which obviously happened, but it was, I feel like, more competitive and more entertaining than what a lot of people thought it was gonna be like. So yeah, I think a great match. And I mean, I think that's it for first round matches. Not a lot of really interesting first round, but I do want to say Jacob Friendly beat Nick Kyrgios in 3 straight sets. Not that much surprise there, at least for me, because I feel like the whole Nick Kyrgios hyping his comeback, and just, we know he clearly has injury issues, it's just not gonna go well. Like, you know it's not gonna go well. And it didn't. So, I mean, he said he's not sure if he will ever play a Grand Slam match, a singles match again, which I can't even blame him for. I feel like, yeah, he's just not the level he used to be, and his injury really hindered his serve, which is his biggest weapon. So, which is clearly not a good thing, but yeah, I mean, this is not unexpected at all, I feel like. Okay, now I want to talk about we'll move on to the second round. So for the second round, there's really not that many exciting matchups. I mean, I just feel like, okay. Oh, wait, let's talk about another first round match. Joan Fonseca beating Andreeva Rublev. Again, Joan Fonseca is such a talented player, and I'm pretty sure if you guys keep a close eye on him, like, he's going to be someone someday. He's such a clean ball striker. It's absolutely insane. Like, I'm pretty sure we're looking at such, like, a talented and wonderful player getting born, because the way he plays tennis and the way he's able to just, like, hit the ball so hard that it just goes completely past Andreeva Rublev, who is an incredible player himself, is honestly, like, he's so talented, and I feel like Rublev really, like, couldn't do anything in this situation. Like, just really, Fonseca just played great. Yeah, okay. And we'll move on to some second round matches. Let's move on. So for the second round, again, as I said, not that many, like, exciting matches, really. Let's see. Okay, the match between Jack Draper and Thanasi Kokkinakis and Davidovich Felix Auger-Aliassime were both amazing. Both of those were 5-set matches, but apart from that, not that much to say. Yeah, I mean, not that much to say. But we'll move on to the third round. The third round, I think, had some incredible matches. We had... Second round? Sorry, I'm, like, a little bit out of it. I think I'm still, like, oh my gosh, a little bit out of it. But we have Lerner Tien beating Daniil Medvedev. This match was, like, the latest finish in the Australian Open this year, and I mean, what can I even say? It was incredible. I feel like just Medvedev isn't the guy he used to be, and just seeing, like, new players like Lerner Tien and Joan Fonseca rise up is such just, like, a delight. And there's a player like Jakub Mensik who also, like, showed himself this Australian Open as well. But I think there's been a lot of just younger players, and that Lerner Tien match, he's such a different player from Fonseca, who uses all his power to hit through his opponent. Lerner Tien just knows tennis differently. Like, he hits the ball using the angles of the court, not with just, like, pure power. But I think these two will create a lot of great matches in the future. Okay, now I want to talk about some other matches. So we'll move on to round 3 and talk about the Taylor Fritz and Gael Monfils match. So this took me completely by surprise. I just, like, Taylor Fritz only lost 8 games coming into the third round. I thought he was going to make it really far, semifinals, finals sort of player. But just, I don't even know. Gael Monfils came out here and played incredible. And after the match, I thought he was going to have this, like, huge sort of moment, right? Because of how well he played. But he came out of this match, and in his press conference, we could tell that that's it. Like, he can't play anything else. His body is just completely given out. But we can't even blame him because he had so many, like, big matches like, think about the match he played against Mapesci Pericard. That was such a big match, and I feel like being the age he is, his body just physically like can't keep up anymore, so it just gave out. So for the fourth round, the match that I really want to talk about is Jannik Sinner versus Holger Rune, because of what happened with Jannik Sinner. So Jannik Sinner came into this match, I feel like, thinking that it's going to be a battle, and it was a battle because it was played at the heat of the day where it was super hot, and Jannik Sinner just, his body couldn't keep up anymore. And Holger is such, like, you know, when he's able to play, he's such a great player. So yeah, and it was just such a, like, Jannik Sinner had to go inside to get some treatment, which I feel like definitely helped him to prepare himself and just steady himself, because, like, yeah, he was struggling out there. And I mean, talking a little bit forward, predicting the, like, men's matches, I know obviously Jannik Sinner will be playing against Alexander Zverev, but I just don't think Jannik Sinner, like, physically, he's not going to be on the side of winning. I feel like he's going to struggle more physically compared to Zverev, especially because Zverev had a withdrawal from Novak Djokovic. Okay, moving on to the quarterfinals. We had Novak Djokovic versus Carlos Alcaraz, Michelsen versus Lorenzo Sonego, Jannik Sinner versus Alex de Minaur, and Paul versus Zverev. The match I want to talk about is between Novak Djokovic, obviously, and Carlos Alcaraz. So I managed to catch the end of this match, and I think going in, everyone expected Carlos Alcaraz to win. I think a lot of people expected it not to be close, but we didn't expect it to lean towards Djokovic, because for Djokovic to find his level, like the level he played against Alcaraz, is such a rare occurrence now. And as he said, he wished that this was the final, because it's really hard for him to get this sort of level 3 matches in a row. And overall, I just feel like Djokovic gave it his all, and that's how, like, even though he got through this match, in the semifinal match where he played against Zverev, he lost the first set, and his body just, like, he knows his body better than anyone, and he knows that he can't physically play on anymore. And that really, I feel like, just has to do all with his match against Alcaraz, because to get that level is something he strives to do, but at the same time, it's really hard to get that level, especially with his age. And for him to get that level against Alcaraz is important, because he has to get through Alcaraz. But for, like, we're asking him to get that level for 3 matches in a row. Like, if he beat Alcaraz, he's going to play against Zverev, and then he's going to have to play against Sinner. So he needs that level, and we don't know, because we've only seen him get that level, like, 1 match. I've never seen him getting that great of a level for, like, 3 matches in a row. And I don't know if that's possible for him anymore, just because of how old he is now. Sorry, that sounded harsh, but that's the reality. Okay, now I want to move on to previewing the final, which is between Jannik Sinner and Alexander Zverev. So I know this part, if you guys don't want to listen, you can just skip, because by the time you're listening, you know the result of this. But I think it leans to Jannik Sinner, just because it's Jannik Sinner, and he's been the defending champion of this tournament, and I feel like he just has way more support, and I just have a feeling that he's going to win. I think he's going to win in 4 sets. I think Zverev really do have an advantage in terms of physical conditions, and I think if he manages to, like, win, like, drag the point out and just have some grueling rallies with him, I think he really do have a chance of winning this title. But Jannik Sinner in terms of power wise and just in terms of like backhand and forehand wise, he's definitely the better player. Okay, that's all for today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed to my social medias, you should. It's Instagram and Twitter using @tennisstrippers. That is @tennisstrippers. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show. And yeah, next week I really want to talk about the aftermath of the Australian Open and what the next few tournaments will bring us. But that's all, and I hope I'll see you guys next week.